broadcasting live from an undisclosed location in the universe. Welcome to Iggy Garcia Live, the show where metaphysics, holistic living, motivation, and inspiration come together to empower your mind, body, and soul. We will dive deep into the realms of metaphysical wisdom, exploring the fascinating connections between mind and matter. Get ready to ignite your inner spark and embrace a journey of self-discovery. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
All right, what's up, everybody? Iggy here. Get started here pretty soon. So we're lighting a candle, giving thanks to our ancestors, holding space for us as we begin our show, Iggy Garcia Live. I want to welcome everybody to the show. And gonna bring a little ceremonial sage around my body to set the tone. Kind of get us all in that frame of mind. This is from what I grew last year. I'm not sure I'm gonna have any this year because nobody, I guess no one grew it. It's really hard to grow here. It's really hard to get it to take because it's so unique. You know, it has its own. It's in its own little environment out west, and when it comes here, it's a perennial when it's out west. And the white sage, when it comes to this zonal area, becomes an annual. So every year, and anybody tries to tell you that white sage will grow back every year, unless they take it inside, it does not grow back. It dies after extreme cold. It can tolerate cold up to a certain degree, but then after that, it just pops. And it's really hard to flower. It's hard for it to seed too. So I have some that I seeded, and we'll see how many of those come out. So I actually did a test this year. I'm gonna do something a little different. I grew some beans and some tomatoes and different kinds of peppers that I got from folks. But the seeds, what I did is I did an old shamanic tradition, is where you take the seed and you hold it in your mouth and you and you embed your DNA on the plant, on the seed itself. And the enzymes, of course, will start to activate on the seed very quickly. So it's something that you have to begin to plant immediately right after you do it, because you don't want the enzymes start to break down the seed itself. But that's something that was taught to me ancestrally. That's how we connect with our plants, and when we plant them, when we bury them into the soil. So that's kind of where we're at today, and just trying to reconnect every day. So for those of you who don't know, I had surgery, and so I am on the recovery. I am on the mend. I am feeling better, but I'm just kind of getting to that place where my body is recalibrating itself and kind of figuring out, from the traumatic experience. Because even though I might have been unconscious and not awake, my body was still awake. My body's like, we are being cut into. We feel that. Regardless of what you're saying, we feel it. And so, my body remembers the surgery and how it went down. So it's very, very unique situation when you're dealing with your body, when you're in connection with your body and your connection with your higher self, as you're sitting to this middle earth and the lower vibrational energy as well. So I remember, the first surgery I had back in 2000, I think it was 2003, roughly. I ended up having a situation where I was a landscaper back then and did holistic work too, but I actually had my own property management company and just worked myself to death, chasing the dollar. And, and that's what happens when you chase too much without proper guidance and proper direction. But that year, I ended up having, my lunch was peanuts. My lunch was a jar of peanuts in my truck And I, for the most part, I would chew them, but the most part I wouldn't. And so I ended up having diverticulitis to some degree back then, where some certain foods don't digest just because my body doesn't recognize it as food. And so it all got tangled up in my intestines and got wrapped up, and it was just a mess. And my dad had to take me to the hospital, and they did emergency tests on me. They were going to put the dyes in my mouth. I drank all that. Then they came by. They said, "We know what's wrong." So they ended up taking the dye out by prepping me for surgery while I was awake. So they shoved the tube down my nose and got to see. It's just the most horrible experience. So you can imagine going into this surgery that I just had last week was a result from this incision that wasn't closed properly. Like, I don't want to say it wasn't closed properly. It should have been more. There should have been more, like a mesh or something. Something should have been done a little more tighter, because you figure you're going to gain weight, you're going to get older, and things are going to weaken, and that's what happened. That area weakened, and little by little, the protrusion started coming through, and they warned me that could possibly happen because the way they thought it would take. It didn't take very well, so they ended up having to operate laparoscopic surgery on my the scar tissue that I had inside me from that operation, and they had to clean that up, and then that's how they can tie it all together and bring it all together and tie in and mesh me up and bring me bring it closer together, because I had a hole, basically a hole had formed, and then the colon, the intestine pushing through, and so it was rough, it was tough. So, but I'm here recovering. I think I'm doing better. Just taking it little by little, taking it easy, and just letting my body heal naturally. Don't force the issue. When I sit here and I watch myself going through this process with this particular surgery I had, it's hard to remember the surgery I had in 2003. Which they weren't similar at all, but they were just completely different. This was planned, this was organized, this was, directed, and how it happened, how this hernia popped through on me. They just happen. They happen like that sometimes. And unfortunately, our body, as we get older, if we're not taking care of it properly, or maybe even if we take care of it properly, because my neighbor, I talked to him yesterday, he works out every day, and he was pushing his mower, and he had a hernia. So, but you learn to live with things. You learn to live with things. Life that's kind of a message of life, right? We learn to live with things. We learn to live with people. We learn to live with animals. We learn to live with trauma. We learn to live with indifference and difference and agreement. We learn, as humans, we learn. We learn how to navigate that thing that we call life in a way that will help us and protect us. But most of us, we all, one or another, nobody's free of drama, trauma, llama, events in our lives. We all have something that has affected us and put us in the state of mind where we're at. And we're here because of certain situations and certain circumstances. And unfortunately, some of those circumstances and some of those events play a traumatic role in molding us as a young person or older person. So right now, who we are, how we perceive ourselves, is probably very different, even from last week or even from yesterday. But there's a constant of how we see the world and how we perceive ourselves and we perceive others and how they perceive us. Earlier today, I posted something about the illusionary version of our lives. We have this idea of what life looks like to us, and then as soon as we present it to the world either embraces it or knocks it down. We don't know how the world's going to receive it or perceive it. But we have to keep going forward, because if we don't, we just stifle our own growth. We stifle ourselves. So, like I would say, there's 8 billion, visionaries and 8 billion dreamers and 8 billion pessimists, because we all ride that wave from time to time. And so here we are, trying to navigate life, trying to create healthy limits and boundaries with other people, trying trying to do the things that, make us happy and try to keep the people around us in a good frame of mind with us. But, it's hard to look at life sometimes and go, wow, we have to make those decisions. No one can really make them for us. People can influence decision-making situations, scenarios by their behavior towards us. But no one really has the power to tell you what to do. Not your government, not your spouse, not your best friend, not your boyfriend, not your lover. We compromise and we come to agreements and understandings. Hey, Sherry, welcome back to Columbus. But, excuse me, in fact, we have more control over our lives and how we want to live our lives than we think. Now, I'm not talking about finances. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about how we want to live, how we want to experience life. We have the power. We are very powerful beings. Our mind is very powerful. Our mind can either help us and it can cripple us, or it can launch us off the launching pad. The stories that we tell ourselves and the stories that we believe that others tell about us. One of the worst things you can do is ask people, what do you think about me? What do you think? And, most people aren't qualified to even ask me about my life, and less alone me give an opinion about somebody else's life. I can only give you from the storylines of my life what your life looks like. And, it's because there's some parallels. All our lives have parallels. All our lives have these things that they look very similar. We have the very similarity behaviors, and we do certain things the same. But then we completely do things completely different. We like different things. We like different people. We like different venues, different environments. The illusion is that we think that everybody should just accept us for who we are. Accept me for who we are. But I don't even know who you are. You don't even know who you are. You don't even accept yourself for who you are. Accept me how you see me, how you perceive me. Well, sometimes we perceive people as being really nice, and sometimes we perceive people as being really not so nice, or, very complicated. Because we're complicated beings. Because in the majority of human beings like their alone time. They like to be in a space where they're by themselves, and they don't want a lot of interaction. They may tell you, oh, yeah, I love people like hanging out, but the majority of people like to find their little nook and crevice, and they just sit in there and they enjoy that, and they revamp and they reorganize and recharge their batteries and stuff. So, that's important. And I think a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people haven't created that, because we're so in our head sometimes. We're so much in our mind. I was reading an article. I posted something about the super subconscious mind and how the things that we say affect other people, or vice versa. And, because it's all us expressing ourselves to each other. And is that true? To some degree, yeah, it's probably true, because sometimes we say things and, what comes out of our mouth is probably the most powerful thing. So we have to be careful how we talk. I'm not saying be afraid and not be a talk, but I'm also not saying be out there and just be a non-filtered person and just expect that the world's going to accept you for who you are. Oh, yeah, well, the world's going to accept you for who you are because you're unfiltered. Yes and no. That's the catch-22. The best thing we can do is just honor who we are in our space, how we see ourselves. And sometimes we don't see ourselves as that person who is a mover or shaker, because we are us, and we don't see ourselves projecting out to the world. Now, I am speaking with a broad paintbrush here, because there are other people who do see themselves that way, and they're able to captivate and capture the attention of people. But I know, like anybody, that human beings like to be and have their space, and they love to be in a space where they're, regathering themselves, because it's super important. And I'm just here to remind you, you got to gather yourself from time to time. You got to find your quiet, zenful place, your meditative place, or your relaxing place. Because not everybody, listen, I understand not everybody meditates, not everybody does all this stuff that I do or my friends do, this woo-woo stuff, as some of my friends call it, woo-woo, which I don't know what that means, but, because meditation is a form of praying. It's a way of praying, being quiet and being in silence and listening to that voice that you we listen for. But, you know, the thing is to recharge ourselves is to be in silence, to be in quiet. Now, there's a time to play, there's a time to do things, there's a time to, you know, get out there and be one with the universe, one with the collective. But, you know, right now, we are living our lives the best we can. I'm going to say that because I think most people try to do their best, and they try to do the best they can, even if they fall short. You know, we fall short sometimes because of how we talk to ourselves, how we communicate to ourselves. It's important to know that how we talk to us personally, one-on-one with ourselves, is probably more positive and more also can be very hard and can be very toxic for some people, because some people don't trust the voice that comes from their mouth. It is, you know, this thing that happens sometimes. But, you know, the thing is we have to look for other people to help us navigate out of our own mind, because our mind can get clouded and become very, very confusing place sometimes. You know, I know this because I've been there. I've been there, you know, as positive as I think myself to be, I'm also very negative at times. I'm very, you know, I have the duality of life, you know, the shadow sides and the light sides of me. Both of them blind you. You know, if you're in bright light, you can be blinded. If you're in the dark, you're blinded in different capacities, you know. But too much of something is, you know, is not necessarily very good for us in certain moments. So we try to find that balance. We try to find that harmonic frequency that brings us into harmony, so we're able to navigate. And being in a harmonious space and harmonious energy is very valid, very important. So what is balance? Most of us think of balance like this. You know, balance is like the teacher taught her. That's the word that most people use. But balance is finding those things that we're able to look at life. You know, we don't be too extreme one way or extreme the other way. So those are the balances I'm talking about life. Trying to find those pleasurable spaces, those pleasurable moments that help us to navigate. Now, a lot of the reasons that we don't necessarily succeed or don't do well is because what we've told ourselves and what we've heard other people tell to us, what we've absorbed, what we have made true. Now, there are people that we count on, that we trust, and whatever comes out of their mouth is gold. And there are other people who they would say something to you, and you know you don't trust them. It's not gold. It's copper. You know, it's something lower, less a metal. You know, metallic. So we're going to use those type of ranges. Why is that? Because when we look at other people, we see the external results of how they live their life and who they are and how we perceive and project onto them. We project onto everybody. Everybody projects onto everybody. And from those projections, we gather information, and we also know how to administer, you know, the hypnotic energy of friendship and love. Because when we send it out there, you can't but help feel good about yourself, and you know, and you feel empowered, and you feel great, and you feel in that moment, yeah, I can do anything. And then all of a sudden, all your problems disappear. I mean, they're still there. Everything that you considered a problem is still there. But what happens is this new person, these new energies that you run into, only see because they're broadcasting onto you. Oh, you're great, man. You're a great shaman. Oh, I've never met anybody who drums so good like you. You know, you start to believe that. So this is how powerful words are. You start to believe that. I mean, you start to move to the energy. But as soon as you have one inkling of something that doesn't resonate with those words, this guy's not that good of a drummer. Who's this guy? You hear that and you're going, I'm not a good drummer. You know, screw you, I'm a good drummer. You know, but that's kind of how it goes. You know, energetically, we start to buy into that, these compliments and non-compliments. I had a teacher told me one time, you know, when someone says they compliment you, instead of saying thank you, because thank you kind of leaves the door open to like, well, you know, it doesn't feel like it's complete. But if you say thank you for noticing, it takes the energy and puts it right back on them. It takes back their compliment in a good way. This is not a negative connotation. Is that they noticed you and you're thanking them for noticing. because you may not see yourself in that same light. You may not see yourself in the same way as others may see you. A lot of people see myself and other people who, like myself, who do this work in ways that I can't even imagine, can't even think of. But I do know, when I talk to a lot of people, is they come back and they said that I changed their life. Something happened. They're better for being in the circle. They're better for being associated with myself and the people around me. And it makes me feel really good, knowing that happens. Because on a subconscious level, I may not be thinking about it, but I know on a conscious level, I want to make sure that people feel better after they've left, being in a circle with me or sphere or working with them. But not better in the sense that their ego got stroked, but better that they can move, moving into a better place and doing things that are better for them, things that they feel good about. But not everybody has that in them, that openness, that mindfulness, that feeling that they're confident, because they've been knocked down so much. They've been tempered into a way of feeling and thinking about themselves, that it takes a lot of retempering, about getting better. So it's a process, getting into the frame of mind where we need to be to help our mind do better. I saw a post today online where someone had a water. It was dirty. It was like black, like dirt. And what they did is they put it underneath the sink and they kept pouring. They turned the water on and it just kept pouring into the glass. But, it was quite a minute or two before that water cleared up. It didn't happen very quickly and very fast. But the key was they kept pouring that love into it. They kept pouring that purity, that cleanliness, and that energy back into the glass. And little by little, it wasn't so dark anymore. Then eventually it wasn't so cloudy. And then eventually it was just clear. Even though the water was still running, meaning that it's a constant work. It's constant energy that we have to invest into ourselves and other people. So when that water's flowing in, that water's pouring into that glass as you're watching, we are the same way. It's a constant, our vessel has to be constantly nourished, constantly giving, back to ourselves. Just because we feel like we're fine and we're fixed, it doesn't mean it's over. I mean, we have to constantly address who we are and how we are, what we're doing, why we're doing, and flowing that energetic energy into us, that purification of water, smoke, soil, anything. It has to be a constant flow through us, moving through us. Because we're not obtaining a place where we're done with our healing and working through our healing. Our healing takes a new direction. Our healing takes a new face. It takes a new route in order for it to come out of that stuck, muck that it's in. We're like the lotus plant. We go down and we're in the mud, but the mud doesn't define us. The mud is what creates us and makes us into the most beautiful flower when we come up and we rise to a higher self and we open up into that energetic space. And then we bloom. But we also know in our mind, it doesn't control us and own us, but we go back to reflect and meditate where we come from. Not because we want to remember and recant what happened. No, we remember because we know, we honor the child or adult or persons who were stuck in time, who were stuck in the mud, who were stuck or frozen, and acknowledging them and saying, hey, I acknowledge you. I see you. And I will come back every day if I need to love you and embrace you and hold you. And then when the time, I will rise up and I will open my petals, receive the love and the energy from the sun, and be there. And when it's done, I will return back. Everything is a cycle. Everything has a system. Everything is embraced by love. Love is a very charged word in this country. Love doesn't mean I want to sleep with you and have sex with you. No, that's not what love is. That's a byproduct of what happens when you fall in love with somebody. You may get or you may not get to that point. But the point is, love is a very powerful word. The inflections we put on the word love, I love you. Well, I love you. I love you, man. You know, the inflection is very powerful in this Germanic speaking tongue, this language. Love is very, can be very cold for some people. And, you know, for a lot of people, then no one's ever told them they loved them. I know some clients whose parents never told them that they loved their kid, loved them. You know, it amazes me because it just means that they weren't loved. They weren't received in that fashion, in that way. And so here you are, you're a little kid, you're living through life, and your supercomputer is running constantly since the day you were born, since the day you were conceived and created. It remembers everything. You can't tell me that you don't remember everything. You may not recall it because cognitively you're not aware of it, because you don't know how to harness those memories, because there's so many other things layered on top of it. The problem is there's so much layers on top of everything, and the story has been rewritten so many times that you're not sure how to move into that space. But I will say this, though. Our computer just sits in our head, or part of our system. It's totally intricately interwoven in our body, spirit, and soul. It knows every aspect, every detail, every person who's walked past, every situation, every sound that has happened, every emotional trigger, every lovely moment. It knows. Now the question is, do we need to know about all that in a certain moment? No. When's the last time you breathed? You took a breath just now. Did you just realize you were breathing? Oh, there it is. You know? Because the illusion is, you know, that, you know, we're in this body, but we're not in this body all at the same time. You know, we're tethered in and out. We're moving, and we're moving through time and space. We're floating on a big ball that's going 30,000 miles an hour and floating around and going around a sun. When you think about it, we're like, we go around a big burning ball every single day. This planet circulates and turns and twists and receives the energy of the love of the sun. It's crazy. But, you know, and we have all these issues and all these problems in our lives, and humanity creates all this dysfunction. And in the blink of an eye, 1 degree one way or 1 degree that way, we don't exist, or we come to become extinct. It baffles me, and I'm not saying that I'm not free of that, but I want to say that, you know, as humans, sometimes we are very, very critical creatures about other humans. We create stories why the other person's bad, why you're bad, why they're good, why you're good. Because those stories, that's the entanglement of self with the universe. You know, when something bad happened to me, I created a story to protect myself, to protect my inner child from being, excuse me, hurt more than it needed to be hurt. Because I was not being heard as a child. Because the child who's raising me, which is an adult child, wasn't heard either. The adult child did not hear what the young child was hearing. You know, and sometimes adults, we look at children and we also get triggered by them because they trigger us because what happened to us. We weren't heard. You know, for some of us as kids, we followed the rules and we did everything we needed to do, but we still got punished. And then there are other ones who didn't follow the rules, and then you get punished. I was like, what the heck? You know, unfortunately, I was that child that tried to follow the rules and, you know, tried to be the good son. And I, you know, I paid for other people's mistakes because I was supposed to take care of them. And, you know, that was painful to know that you're punishing me because you didn't want to do the punishing. You second lieutenanted me to do the punishment. And so that's what some parents do. Not all parents. Some parents do. You're the oldest son, so you need to take care of your brothers and sisters. So if they get out of a line, just smack them across the head. You know how that story goes. As soon as you do that, you're no longer the brother. You're no longer, you are a whole different being. You're the authoritarian in their lives. You are someone who has been gifted power over them without their consent. And that happens to a lot of kids in this world. They take on the mantle. I'm the oldest, I'm the second, I'm the third. And I'm the patriarch, I'm the matriarch, where we have all these labels. And this is very hard for some people sometimes to navigate excuse me, that energy, and to take on that responsibility, because it is a responsibility. When you give that responsibility to a child who doesn't really know more than the other child, it punishes everybody. The adult should be the adult, period, and the child should just be the child. Teach the child how to, take care of himself, adult themselves, and not punish. Because what happens they grow up and they just start punishing more people. Well, I have power, I can punish that person. Well, if that person isn't receptive to my punishment, I'll move on and find somebody that will. And the cycle continues. And this is what happens a lot. When you look around, this is what happens. You see it. I mean, you've probably experienced it. You could be one of those people who do it or did it or was done to. But in our mind, we create these scenarios, we create these systems, and we record that. We're like, big brother, no good. Big brother, take advantage of power. And but I took it. I took that energy and I said, what? My dad empowered me, so I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna make sure that I live up to my empowerment. Because if not, I will be punished severely. So I will punish them so I don't get punished. It's what happened. It's what happened in my life. And it took me a while to figure out why my brothers and sisters sometimes are, estranged from me. Not estranged, but they're kind of estranged, because as a child, I was given the authority to punish them and be big brother. Of course, that's part of my culture. Big brother's big brother. You have to respect big brother. But big brother has to earn respect. That's something I didn't learn, because I took it as something that I was granted by my dad, and I was going to do it. But you learn later. But sometimes here's the problem: you learn later, but the harm's already done. The hearts are broken, the feelings are hurt, the words have been said. Yeah, we forget. Yeah, we move on. But it's still there. It's very fresh. So I can understand why things like that can happen to people and they feel bad and why they're going through things. Now, the same token, you're watching your parents and you see their struggle. You watch them going through life. And we have to have some kind of compassion for them, I believe, because they were taught wrong. Some of them, not all of them, some of them were taught wrong. That the only answer is, corporal punishment, or ignoring somebody, or yelling at somebody. But I don't know. I just know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. The golden rule: do unto others as you want done unto you. We can get into Murphy's Law too. But anyhow, the question is, how powerful are our minds? Our minds are super powerful, very powerful. Our self-talk is probably one of the most powerful things that we'll ever encounter. The word spelling means spell, like spell casting. Anything you write or say is a spell. So how we communicate to ourselves, is vital and very important. What do we say to ourselves? How do we talk to ourselves? How do we engage ourselves? How do we introduce ourselves? How do we perceive ourselves? How do we know how we fit in the world? This world is big, very powerful world. This world is, very, very unforgiving at times. But all I know is that sometimes, it's just we have to be patient with ourselves. So what is patience? That's different for everybody. Anything that I say today is going to be different for anybody. Everybody's story is going to be different than mine, and vice versa. Your story is going to be different than the last person. But the thing is, understanding that, there's hope for us to do better, to get better. We don't have to go into the deepest, darkest crevices of our mind and fester in there and waddle in there and die in there and get lost in there. But it happens because a lot of people have never been taught or shown or given the opportunity to move out of that energy. The energy that resides inside of all of us is our own unique gift to navigate this world. The Creator created all this for us to enjoy and to be part of Earth Mother and to embrace us and feed us and love us. But yet we don't take care of her. We don't take care of her. We don't take care of Earth Mother. We don't embrace her and love her the way we should. And she has memory too. All you have to do is open up the soil and you can see the bands of dirt and the things that happened to her. She holds an energy and a resonance of what has happened to her. If you know how to read the tea leaves, you can see what happens. Some of us call it science. And science will tell you what happened. But the earth is here to support us. And she will always support us as long as we do our part to support her. Like the animals, they do their part. They support her. They know when to migrate. They know when to move. They know when to eat. They know when not to eat. We have brought so much things out of balance because we're so out of balance. It's not that we just took advantage of it. No, it's because humanity is out of personal, individually, out of balance. You are out of balance because you're not in rhythm with Mother Earth. You're not in rhythm with Creator. You're not in rhythm with nothing. If you don't believe in nothing, you're not in rhythm with it. Because nothing is something. It comes from that. Creator and Mother Earth are real. How you embrace that and how you bring that into your life, that's your own personal story. That's your own personal gift. That's something that you'll have to work on yourself. But our personal self, us, out of alignment. I don't care how much you think you're in alignment. Even me, out of alignment with Mother Earth. We just are. That's why everything's out of order. That's why everything's in chaos. Everything's in a place where now the earth is beautiful and does its thing and it's doing its thing. But I'm talking about how we perceive and project onto her and what we're doing. We're responsible for that. Now the earth won't go anywhere. We will go everywhere. Saying hi to everybody. How's it going, everyone? So Mother Earth is a sentient being. She's alive. We happen to be the little things that live on her, like little things that live on us or inside of us as well. Everything that you see on the earth is a reflection. It's reflected back on you. The blood, the lymphatic, the heart, the lungs, everything. If there's things living inside of us, there's things living on the earth. There's things living outside of us. There's things living outside the earth, on the nervous system of the earth, on the crust, and then also the deep parts inside of her. You start to go into the burrowing creatures of earth, as we have burrowing creatures inside of us. Now, not everything that's in us and with us serves us, but then there are other things that serve us. And then when something doesn't serve us, we try to annihilate it. And in the process, we annihilate all the good stuff, and then we come right back. So it's life is tricky sometimes, I guess. Life is tricky. Sometimes we want to do things right, and then we We do it so wrong. But our minds, your mind, my mind, my friend Lawrence, he was just here. He was telling me, children dream when they're young. And when you become an adult, you have visions. They're no longer dreams, they're visions. Visions of things to come, things that could be, or could have been, or would be. The visions. It seems so real. Oh my God, that happened. We get a projection into the future. We get to project into multiple timelines of existence. When we open up our mind, our spirit, our soul, when we open up all those chakra points, when we open up and we're clearing and cleansing ourselves, we get to see that. The great sages of the world were visionaries. They saw things before they were there. They created things before they were created. It doesn't matter who was Buddha, Jesus. It doesn't matter who it was, They saw something because they had the vision. They dreamt it. It was told to them. They heard. They listened to Mother Earth. They listened to the stars. Our ancestors could navigate the world and the seas before there was technology. But they had technology in their present moment, in their time. That was their technology. To connect with the stars and to know how to navigate the maps and create maps. They made maps that are almost pretty damn good. Scientists before there are scientists who measured the earth and figured out it was round. So man, has been doing things, miraculous things for eons. We just don't give indigenous people, we don't give ancestral people the credit that it's due. Just because it can't be replicated in the modern day doesn't mean that it couldn't be done, that it wasn't done. Just because we can't do it doesn't mean a damn thing for the people from back in very deep in history that they could do it. Because they had this to think. They had their mind, the creation, the manifestation, the opening up of stuff and making things and creating things, modeling things, and then building the bigger things. Da Vinci's a good example. He made little toys and trinkets that people just thought he was just a toy maker, or he was just a painter, he was just a philanthropist, a flamboyant. He created a lot of stuff that is used today. Tesla is a good example too. He had his connection with spirit. He had his connection with Mother Earth and Sky Father. We have people today in this world, but we don't see them as much. They're not shown to us how they were shown back then. Because there's a lot of us now that are creators and manifestors and creating things that are amazing and beautiful. Our visions, our desires drive us and push us forward. And things, are we ready to move forward? Are we ready to go into that place? Some of us are, some of us aren't. But I know one thing. When we free our mind, when I mean free, I mean allow it to be and open, and not really care what anybody says, regardless if it's right or wrong. Ideas spawn from ideas. Every idea that's ever been thought of, something manifested around that and created from that. So you can think of something, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, that's not going to work. Then comes in somebody else. Well, did you add this to it? Or did you remove this from that? Oh man, I didn't think about that. Yeah, it's not because you didn't think about it. It's because you're creating the foundation of your vision. You're creating the beginnings of your vision. It's because we're intricately connected. All of us are intricately connected. There's another version of you who sits far into another part of the universe. If you know quantum physics, the strange entanglements of the electrons and protons and all that stuff, there's different versions of ourselves, different versions of who we are. there's different versions calling out to us. And those versions sometimes reside in the mind, and they're in there, in that connection. For some of us, we call some of those people crazy, or they have ADHD, or they have mental illness. You know, we label people who we can't connect to. We put them in categories. We categorize them. You know, we categorize people. We label people. We put people in these boxes because we don't want to deal with them, especially the children. When we don't want to deal with children, we put them in boxes. Not everybody, but the system does. Oh, he has ADD. We need to put her over here or him over here. They can't function. You need to drug them up and give them a pill. Do they need it? I'm not a doctor. But I just know that these little star beings, these little children, these little crystalline kids, these little light bulbs of energy are working on a frequency much, much higher than where we're at. You know, we all come from different eras in time. I was born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s and 80s as a child. My world was different. My world was, it was complex for me, challenging for me, but it wasn't like it is today. You know, today kids live differently. We were out and about, most of us, doing things, exploring, turning rocks, collecting salamanders. You know, we were doing things, and that was normal. Now it's like they do that at camp, or we have special occasions when we do that. Kids today are very connected to the grid, this system, and this system that, you know, manipulates our minds and that controls our minds. That's fed to us. You know, when you watch, and I've heard this, and it's kind of, I don't know how to feel about it. You know, we used to call the TV the babysitter. Some of us, our parents, do, oh, just leave with the babysitter. And they're like, ooh, the TV. Now the babysitter is the laptop, the iPhone. You know, I know little kids with iPhones. They don't go anywhere. But I watch my grandkids and their parents, you know, my daughter or my son or whatever. And the kids have phones, and they're like, no problem. I mean, that's where they're at, to be outside, to do, you know, as much as possible. Just to, you know, just say, hey, you know, I'm still here. You know, you want to do something to talk. But sometimes when I go, they're on their phones. They're like, and I'm talking to my daughter. I'm like, they're not gonna say hi to grandpa and grandma. Hey guys, you know. But it's funny where we're at. You know, where we've evolved to, what we're evolving into, where children are just handed a, you know, this LED, this LCD, this crystal light board, and, you know, and the energy behind it to communicate to the world and to broadcast out to the world and share their thoughts. Yet they have a difficult time sharing their thoughts to the people right in front of them. Or they get upset with the people right in front of them because turn it off, and then they get angry and frustrated. You know? And so it makes me sad to see that. You know, it makes me sad to see when children lose control and they're not able to communicate and not able to function in a way that, you know, is different. Now, I know I'm not saying that all parents like this, but, you know, there are parents who, you know, strict and limit what kids can or cannot watch, which is totally, I totally get that. But there are some parents that, you know, they're so busy and their lives are so complicated that the laptop is, or the computer or the phone is their babysitter of the future. You know, and we've given labels to everything and to everyone and to everything. I remember there was a time where people didn't want to be called or be labeled, or people just wanted to be accepted for who they were, and that was it. There was none of this all these different, you know, pronouns and stuff. When I was growing up, there wasn't a thing. And, you know, if you were a boy or girl, no one really cared. We just accepted you for who you were. Yeah, we razzed you from time to time, but, you know, but there was no battle because I called you different, something. But now everything seems so combative and so different. Am I out of touch? I could be out of touch. Sure. I was born in 1966. My world was different. And I projected and moved forward and broadcasted things into my adulthood. And then I also let go of some things, but I'm also embracing new things, new ideas. You know, as a child, you don't always see things. Everything's just pretty clear cut and dry. There's really no battles. Kids are just kids. If you liked a kid, you fine. If you didn't like the kid, you got to fight. You got over it. And whoever won it was, we moved on. Now it's just so different. It's different because we see it different. Because we look at it and it's different for us. But the kids today have just as many issues and problems as we did growing up and trying to be validated and to find themselves. When I was growing up, it was like we had to be part of something. We had to be in a gang. We had to be like part of this group. And we did things together. Today, it's like not like that. Like my grandkids, I don't see them do that. I don't see a lot of kids that I coach. It's just me. Oh, what are you doing? I'm going home, playing my video game. I'm like, okay. You're not doing anything this weekend? No, I'm just going to go to this video game tournament. No, this is just extreme. I have extreme cases like this. But our minds are so powerful. Where we could go in the storytelling so we can create with our mind. And the things that we could do to share and help others to navigate this world. If we were able to just do that. But the world is created in a way now that it controls and it needs to control and it wants to manipulate and keep us all in check and keep us all from growing. Because God forbid if we grew, God forbid if our dreams and our visions came true, this world would be different because the 1% of the population that controls the whole world would be in big trouble. There's only a handful of families that control everything. And yet there's billions of us. But we also have been manipulated into the place of not owning guns, not owning things, not protecting ourselves, because we don't have time. We have to go farm, and we have to go work, and we have to go make money, and we got to make a paycheck, because if we don't have a paycheck, then we don't have the things we want. Because that's the way the system was created. The system was created to oppress you and keep you down. Even if you make $1 million a year, even if you make $100,000 a year, the system is designed to keep you from growing. Not too much. Not too much. The system. The system that our ancestors helped build. Because we're the only creatures that charge each other for the use of things like natural gas, electricity, phones. You don't see the deer charging the deer for eating in the pasture or on the trees in the certain parts of the forest. It's not what happens. This is why we're like the smartest and the dumbest creature in the world all at the same time. We know there's pollution. We know that we're freaking it up. But we go like this. I don't see anything. What do you want me to see? Oh, yeah, there's a bottle over there. No, keep turning. Oh, wow, there's a whole island of plastic in the Pacific Ocean floating there. Now, I'm not poo-hooing everything that is bad. There's some things that have purpose and they serve us. But our minds, we can't lose our minds. We can't lose our minds to the frivolous things that have been put in front of us. We can't lose our minds. Oh, it's Saturday and Sunday. Hey, let's enjoy 2 days of freedom and 2 weeks of vacation a year. I don't know. Because we're not idle creatures either. We don't like to sit idle either. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy my topics. I know sometimes they're kind of off, you know, they're a little strange, and we go down that rabbit hole sometimes. But I think it's important to talk about these things. I think it's important to share and say, hey, you know what? What's going on? What's the deal? Well, the deal is I got my shit together. And the deal is, you know, it's all a mess. The deal is, what can I do or what can I not do? There's a sense of that we can't do anything. There's a sense of we can do everything. All in the same time, all in the same feeling. But anyhow, I really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to my podcast and watching my short videos on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube page, Iggy Garcia. It's good to be here page. These things get uploaded, and I have other things on there as well. I'm on Instagram under Mandriotti. Ignacio Garcia Mandriotti. So Mandriotti is part of my last name. So anyhow, guys, I think I've said all I need to say today and where I feel I need to go with this topic. I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope you were able to connect with me. You know, once I get back on my feet from my surgery, you can visit me at iggygarcia.com and join my mailing list there. And you know, guys, just it's good to be here. In the end of it all, it's good to be here. It's good to be with you. It's good to be with self. It's good to be with Creator. It's good to be with Mother Earth. It's good to be with the potentiality of things that can happen and the things that are good, things that, you know, we can learn from life. There's so much growth that we could have if we just got out of our own way. By getting out of our own way, we leave the door open for other people to step in and experience us differently. All right, my friends, you have a great evening. I will talk to you soon. I will see you probably next month with another podcast. And we're getting close to that 200 episode, which is going to be fun. But anyways, I will see you next time. And it's good to be here. Irisikwi, matakuyasin, ho'oponopono. What is above is below. We'll see you soon. Take care. And you know what? Just be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful of your feelings, your emotions. And honor and respect yourself where you're at. And if you're not in the place you want to be, give yourself a little time. Give yourself a little moment. Give yourself an opportunity to grow. Just be open-minded and be able to accept and receive. All right. Take care, my friends. Peace and love. This is my new chacana. It's made from Palo Santo. It's a necklace. And just go on my website, look under sacraments. You can go to my website there and purchase items like sage, jewelry, ponchos, all kinds of stuff. So, all right, guys. Be well. Talk to you soon.